Hi, I'm Randy Bias, the CTO and co-founder of Cloud Scaling, and we're here with Thierry Carrez. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Close enough?
Yeah, pretty good for an American.
So Thierry, why don't you tell the folks what you do for the OpenStack Foundation?
So I'm handling release management duties for the OpenStack Foundation. That means coordinating the release cycle, making sure that everyone lands their feature in time, and working on like coordinating the whole ecosystem of companies that is contributing now to OpenStack for and ending up producing something useful in the end. So that's like being at the nexus of all the collaborations. Very interesting job.
So I remember in the very early days, you probably remember this too, we had this 3-month release cycle and we were trying to like get everything out every 3 months, and it was too hard to meet that. And so we switched to this 6-month cycle, which we've been very effective at, and we've been hitting it time after time. But the size of the number of projects, we've gone from 2 to 9, has increased. The number of developers has increased. The velocity has increased. How are we managing to continue to hit this 6-month release cycle every time?
So the main drive behind moving from 3 months to 6 months was to align with the design summit, the frequency with which we could handle those design summits. And design summits are very important to have at the beginning of the cycle, so that everyone is focused on the same types of project. Right. We already know what type of issues we'll tackle. We already have solved the difficult discussions because we've been all together in one place. And when we did those 3 months release cycle, we started another release cycle. I think it was the Cactus cycle. And we didn't have that design summit at the start, and that actually hurt the quality of the project in the end, because we didn't have like that set of common understanding that is really critical for us to produce OpenStack in the end. The other thing is documentation had trouble getting up to speed in a 3 months cadence.
And it still does to some degree.
Yeah, it still does. I mean, it's the main blocker for between us and shorter release cycles. It's not really our ability to produce working code, because now we're pretty much in a good position with the continuous integration set that we have. But it's true that between the design summits and the documentation aspects of it, having this 6 months release cadence actually helps us being in the same community, working on the same project, and I think that's what matters today.
So how much, could you go into a little bit more detail about your perspective? You're managing these releases, you kind of like see the entire, you have the largest field of view. Could you talk a little bit more about the impact of the continuous integration stuff and the infrastructure team generally? And I'd also like to hear about your perspective on Oslo and OpenStack Common.
So for the continuous integration, we've managed to reach a level where we are confident that the stuff that we put in is working, and that's great. The next effort, like you said, I mean, testing used to be the main issue. It's complex software to test, and
right.
Making sure that you have an always runnable master branch is actually quite difficult.
Trust me,
I
know.
We reached a level that is very, very good, and we are constantly improving on that. The new challenge is with the growth of the project to make sure that we don't duplicate code, that we don't multiply the cost of maintenance of all those lines of code. We are reaching 1 million lines of code now.
Wow.
And it's important for us to reuse as much code as we can and DIY, right? And so the Oslo effort is really critical to try to get all the projects to reuse the same pieces of code that can continuously improve without having too much technical debt. And I think that's one of the great challenges ahead, is to multiply the zones of the code where we actually have code in common between the projects.
So you're managing these 6-month release cycles, and you're also the chair for the technical committee, which is really sort of the focal point of our technical meritocracy that sort of helps with sort of the overall management of the project. I'd love to hear how well you think the TC is working, and particularly how well it's working with the board and with the actual community on the other side.
Well, I think we really have a great group of people in the technical committee. So it's all the project technical leads plus a number of directly elected people, and we have like this common view on things, which means we don't really there is no strong opposition on motions. There is always someone that brings interesting insights to the table, but in the end there is like a lazy consensus around those issues, and so we're basically on the same line, and that lets us make great progress on the technical side. we don't have like really blockers. We're a very efficient group of people, so we get things done. It's not blocking any type of progress. The relationship with the board of directors. So originally, the project policy board, the PPB, which is the ancestor of the technical committee, was like the only thing there was. So it was like deciding on a lot of things. There was no limits, there were no blockers, except potentially Rackspace will to constrain that. Now that we moved to the foundation, we have like the board of directors on one side, which is focused on OpenStack, the brand, what it is, and managing the resources we have for this project, and on the other side, the technical committee, which still is like the representation of the meritocracy of developers and the contributors to the project. And we needed to make sure that there is no area where there is too much overlap between the two instances, because those are where conflicts could happen. And that's what we did with the common joint committee for the incubation and core status, because the definition of core was falling right into the middle. Core by the bylaws is defined by the board of directors, but it was still the technical committee which kind of granted that status.
Right.
And so
there wasn't a clean separation of duties there.
And there was a potential problem in the future. And so we basically split the two concepts, the same concept in two, where we have like we produce a number of projects with this schedule, which are called the integrated project. We all release them together, but then some of them might not be called OpenStack, or might not be worthy of the brand, or whatever OpenStack means, which is the purview of the board of directors. They can pick which in this set of projects that we release on this predictable schedule they want to use with the OpenStack trademark. And I think that's a great separation we built there, and that should let us move forward in a very nice and cooperative way, I think.
Great. So if you could wave a magic wand, and what would be the one or two things that would really help you kind of be more successful at sort of that 6-month release cycle, either in terms of code quality or increasing the number of commits, or getting documentation done? I mean, what are the one or two things that would really help you out?
I haven't thought of that. Magic one. So I've been talking here 6 months ago about strategic contributions and tactical contributions, and what I really want is companies to invest more in those strategic areas, those long-term project-focused area rather than their immediate goals. And we've seen a lot of improvement in that area. I still think there are areas where we can still improve in QA.
Give me an example.
Documentation is the thing that comes to mind today.
That's a strategic contribution.
Yeah. So yeah, the examples of strategic contribution would be people working on release management, or on security fixes, or on general QA, improving the test suites, rather than just fixing a bug or bringing in a feature that is like contributing to their company baseline.
Right.
And we've seen a lot of improvement in that area, and especially in the QA aspects, or even in the stable branch management, vulnerability management, we have seen companies step up and really help in those areas. The area that's left, I think, is documentation, and didn't see so much help from all those companies, and I think that's our next challenge and my magic wand. Use it to help Anne Gentle to get a great team of technical writers to make the documentation up to speed with the rest of the project.
Right, because developers, not all developers are great document writers. Right.
Yeah, there is always this conflict. They should basically, they are the best to know what exactly stuff is about, but sometimes when you can have like a technical writer that helps getting this information out
extracting it.
It doesn't mean they won't write anything. It's just that they need someone to spike their interest in providing a good documentation.
Fair enough. All right, thanks a lot, Thierry, and thank you for watching.
Y'all know the name.